Hello, my very dear friend. Please come in. The door is always open for you here. Take a moment to shake off the weight of the outside world, leave your shoes by the door, and come settle into the most comfortable chair in the room. It is so genuinely lovely to see you again. I was just boiling the kettle. Can I offer you a warm mug of something soothing, perhaps a fragrant chamomile with a drop of honey, or maybe a slice of fresh ginger steeped in hot water to warm you from the inside out? Whatever you choose, I just want you to feel completely at ease. I am so glad you have carved out this little pocket of time for yourself today. You know, there is a very specific, quiet intimacy that happens when we sit down like this, just two friends sharing a moment of peace away from the noise and the rush of daily life. I wanted to talk to you today about a feeling that I think you might know all too well. It is a feeling that often visits us in the quiet moments, perhaps when you're waking up in the morning and the sun hasn't quite broken through the curtains, or maybe late at night when the house is finally still. It is that strange, nagging sensation that, despite your very best efforts, despite all the boxes you are ticking, something just isn't quite clicking inside your body. It is a whisper that says, I should feel better than this. We try so incredibly hard, don't we? We are told to do so many things. We read the health magazines in the waiting rooms. We listen to the snippets of advice on the news. We dutifully skip the biscuits at tea time, and we fill our plates with mountains of greens because we are told that is the right thing to do. We follow the rules. And yet, despite all this diligence, you might still feel a heaviness in your limbs that feels like you are walking through treacle. It is a sort of persistent, deep-seated fatigue that a good night's sleep simply doesn't seem to touch. You wake up just as tired as when your head hit the pillow. Or perhaps it is the temperature. Do you find yourself reaching for an extra jumper when everyone else in the room is sitting comfortably in a t-shirt? Do you find yourself turning up the heating thermostat inch by inch, hoping to chase away that chill that seems to live inside your very bones? It feels incredibly unfair, doesn't it? It can be so frustrating, even heartbreaking, to feel like you are putting in all the hard work, making all the sacrifices, but not reaping the rewards of vitality, warmth, and energy that were promised to you. You might even have looked in the mirror recently and wondered if the thinning of your hair or the dryness of your skin is just part of getting a little older. You might have whispered to yourself, well, I suppose this is just how it is now.
But let me stop you right there and tell you something with absolute certainty, my friend. It is not just age, and you are certainly not imagining it. You are not making a fuss over nothing. Your body is trying to tell you a story, and today we are going to learn how to listen to it. Today, we are going to have a gentle, fascinating look at our thyroid, that beautiful, delicate, butterfly-shaped gland that resides right here at the base of our neck. It is such a small thing, no bigger than a plum, really, but it has a mighty, almost magical job. It is the conductor of your body's entire orchestra. We're going to explore how some of the most wholesome, natural foods, things like broccoli, soy, and even certain nuts, interact with this butterfly. Now please, I can feel you tensing up. Do not worry. I am not here to scold you or to ban these wonderful foods from your kitchen. We are not about restriction here. We are about understanding. I am not here to take away your favorite meals, but there is a very specific way to prepare them, a secret language of cooking, if you will, that has been lost in our modern rush. If we miss this step, these healthy foods might accidentally slow us down, like putting the wrong type of fuel in a high-performance engine. But if we get it right, if we learn the secret, they transform from potential obstacles into pure, vibrant, healing fuel for your body. So let's take a deep breath, drop your shoulders away from your ears, and explore this mystery together. To understand what is happening, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and use your imagination. Think of your body not as a machine of flesh and bone, but as a beautiful, sprawling English garden estate. In the center of this garden, there is a grand historic manor house. This house represents your physical self. Now, deep in the basement of that house, there is a master thermostat, a furnace that controls the temperature and the energy of every single room, from the attic to the cellar. That thermostat is your thyroid. When that thermostat is set correctly and working well, the entire house is cozy and inviting. The pipes, your veins and arteries, flow freely and warmly, carrying water to every corner. The energy in the rooms is just right, not too hot, not too cold. The fire in the hearth burns steadily and brightly, digesting the logs, the food you give it, turning them into glorious heat and light. When the fire is roaring, you burn through your woodpile efficiently. You have energy to move furniture, to dance, to live. But sometimes, quite by accident, and often with the best intentions, we introduce certain compounds into the house that turn that dial down. We might throw a log onto the fire that is damp, or we might accidentally block the chimney. When the dial is turned down, everything in the house slows. The house gets a bit chilly. You need more blankets. The water in the pipes moves a little more sluggishly, perhaps getting a bit stagnant. The fire in the hearth smolders rather than roars. It gives off smoke instead of heat. This means we don't burn our fuel efficiently, and we might notice a little extra weight staying around the middle, even though we aren't eating more food. It isn't that the furnace is broken. It is simply that the signal has been dampened. The fire is being smothered. This connects so deeply to how we feel day to day. Tell me, honestly, do you often feel cold in your hands and feet, even when you are wearing warm woolen socks? Do you find that when you shake someone's hand, yours feels icy to the touch, while theirs feels warm and alive? I would love for you to pause for a second and let me know in the comments below. Just write, "Yes, I feel the cold," or share your experience. It is actually far more common than you might think, and seeing others write it can be so validating. It is often the very first whisper from that butterfly in your neck saying, "I'm struggling to keep the fire lit. I need a little support." I want to share a story with you that might sound familiar. It's about a dear neighbor of mine. Let's call her Margaret. Margaret is a wonderful woman, full of life and kindness, but a few years ago, she decided she needed to get healthy. She had read everywhere, online and in magazines, that raw vegetables were the absolute key to vitality. Raw is law, she kept seeing. So, with the absolute best of intentions and a discipline that I truly admired, she started eating a large bowl of raw kale, raw spinach, and raw broccoli salad every single day for lunch. She put raw spinach in her morning smoothies. She was so proud of her new routine. She thought she was flooding her body with life force. But a strange thing happened. After a month or so, instead of feeling lighter, brighter, and more energetic, she felt heavier. She felt more tired than before she started. Her hair seemed a little thinner in her brush, and that chill in her bones just wouldn't leave, even in the summer. She started gaining weight despite eating nothing but salads. Margaret was confused, frustrated, and a bit heartbroken. She sat in my kitchen, tears in her eyes, and said, "I'm eating the healthiest food on earth. Why do I feel like this? What is wrong with me?" The reason, as we discovered over a comforting cup of tea, was not that she was weak or that she had failed. It was simply that she didn't know the secret we are about to share regarding raw greens. She was accidentally dampening her internal fire with the very logs she thought would make it burn brighter. It is a classic case of good intentions with the wrong execution. And if you have done this, please, I beg you, do not blame yourself. We are told so often that raw is better, but for our thyroid, that isn't always the truth. This brings us to the green dilemma. We are talking about a specific family of vegetables called cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, and cabbage. Let me be clear, these are truly nature's gifts. They are packed with fiber, vitamins, and cancer-fighting properties. I adore them. However, They contain natural defense compounds called goitrogens. Now, goitrogens sounds like a very technical, scary medical word, doesn't it? But let's simplify it. Think of goitrogens simply as a brake pedal. In nature, plants don't really want to be eaten, so they have these little chemical defenses. When we eat these vegetables raw in large quantities, these compounds can interfere with how our thyroid absorbs iodine. And iodine, as we know, is the main ingredient the thyroid needs to make its energy hormones. It is as if you are trying to fill your car with petrol to go on a journey, but someone keeps putting a locked lid over the fuel tank. You have the fuel, the iodine, you have the thyroid, but you cannot get the fuel inside. So the car sits in the driveway. The engine doesn't start, the house stays cold. So, does this mean we must stop eating broccoli? Must we say goodbye to coleslaw forever? Absolutely not. That would be a tragedy. I love a bit of tender stem broccoli with my Sunday roast, and I'm sure you do too. Here's the trick, the simple alchemy that changes everything. The moment you cook these vegetables, you change their chemistry. When you steam them, roast them, or sauté them, even for just a few minutes, the heat deactivates those goitrogenic compounds. You essentially break the lock on the fuel tank. You remove the brake pedal while keeping the vehicle. Think of cooking as unlocking the food's potential. You are making it safe, welcoming, and bioavailable for your thyroid. You are taming the wild plant and making it a friend. I always suggest steaming your greens until they are vibrant, bright green. You know that beautiful, almost neon color they turn just before they go soft and olive-colored? That is the sweet spot. That is the moment of transformation. You keep the vitamins, but you dissolve the obstacles. It's such a small change. Instead of a cold, raw kale smoothie, which might be hard on your digestive fire, why not have a warm, sautéed spinach side dish with a little garlic and lemon? It's delicious, warming, and your thyroid will thank you for it. It's about working with your body, not forcing it. Now let's wander a little further into our garden and talk about the soy situation. This is a tricky one because there is so much conflicting information out there. Many of us switched to soy milk or tofu years ago, thinking it was the heart-healthy choice, the virtuous choice. And it can be, but for our thyroid butterfly, unfermented soy is a bit of a trickster. Imagine you are waiting for a very specific, very important guest to arrive at your front door. Let's say it is the guest who brings the firewood. But then, someone else shows up wearing a costume that looks exactly like them. Your body opens the door, gets confused, and lets this imposter in. Meanwhile, the real guest, your own hormones, gets left outside in the cold. This is called mimicry. The soy compounds look so much like our own estrogen that they confuse the system, and this confusion can disrupt the delicate balance of the thyroid. But again, we don't need to banish soy entirely. We just need to look at history. In ancient Asian cultures where soy has been eaten for thousands of years, it was almost always fermented. They knew something we forgot. They ate miso, tempeh, natto. The fermentation process is like a magic spell. It removes the costume. It breaks down the anti-nutrients and makes the soy easy to digest and safe for the thyroid. So the better path isn't necessarily to avoid it entirely, but to upgrade your choices. Swap that processed soy protein bar for a delicious bowl of miso soup. It is comforting, salty, and safe. Then we have the garden fence. This is how I like to think of our gut lining. And the topic here is gluten, found in wheat, barley, and rye. I know. Bread is a comfort like no other. There is nothing quite like the smell of fresh toast in the morning or a warm roll with dinner. It feels like a hug. But for many of us, especially as we get a little older, gluten can be a bit of a troublemaker. Imagine your gut lining is a beautiful white picket fence protecting your bloodstream from the outside world. The slats should be close together, letting only the good nutrients, the sun and the rain, through. But gluten contains a protein called gliadin that can, in some people, loosen those planks. It makes the fence a bit wobbly. It creates gaps. When the fence is wobbly, particles of food and toxins slip through into the bloodstream where they shouldn't be. Our body's immune system, think of them as the loyal guard dogs of our garden, sees these intruders and starts barking. They launch an attack to protect you. They're doing their job. But here's the tragedy. The tissue of our thyroid gland looks remarkably similar on a molecular level to the gluten protein structure. It's a case of mistaken identity. So in the confusion and the chaos, with the fence broken and the intruders running wild, the guard dogs might accidentally start barking at the thyroid. They attack the very gland that keeps you warm, thinking it is the enemy. This is where a lot of that sluggishness, that puffy feeling, and that deep inflammation comes from. It is a battle happening inside you that you didn't ask for. Now, I am not saying you must never look at a loaf of bread again. We want life to be joyful, not restrictive. But if you have been feeling particularly tired, or if you have that brain fog where you walk into a room and forget why you were there, have you ever considered giving your system a little holiday? Just a short break. Perhaps try avoiding gluten for just 2 weeks. Think of it as sending your guard dogs on a vacation and letting the carpenter repair the fence. Many people tell me that within a week, the fog lifts. They say it's like someone wiped a dirty window clean, and suddenly they can see clearly again. They feel a clarity and a lightness they haven't felt in years. Have you ever tried taking a break from bread for just a week? Did you notice a lift in your energy or a decrease in bloating? I would truly love to hear your experience in the comments. It helps others to see they are not alone in this and that it is worth a try. While we are looking at things that create noise in the body, we must talk about the sweet thief, sugar and refined carbohydrates. We all enjoy a sweet treat, and life is for living. A slice of cake at a birthday is a joy. But sugar is a bit of a mischief maker when it becomes a daily habit. When we eat a lot of refined sugar, it creates immediate inflammation. I like to think of inflammation as static noise. Imagine you're trying to listen to a beautiful, gentle piece of classical music. That is your thyroid trying to communicate with your cells. It is a soft, delicate melody. But then someone starts drilling a hole in the wall next door. That drilling is the inflammation caused by sugar spikes. It is loud, jarring, and constant. You simply cannot hear the music anymore. The body becomes deaf to the thyroid's messages because the noise of the sugar crash is too loud. And it is a vicious cycle, isn't it? We feel tired because our thyroid is sluggish, so we crave sugar for a quick burst of energy. We eat the biscuit, we get a spike, and then an hour later we crash and feel even more tired than before, so we reach for another. Breaking this cycle is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. And the beauty is, when we lower the sugar, we aren't depriving ourselves. We're turning down the noise so our body can hear its own rhythm again. You might find that fruit starts to taste incredibly sweet again, like nature's candy. You might find your natural energy is much more sustained, a steady burn rather than a roller coaster of highs and lows. It is about reclaiming your peace. Now, here is an overlooked detail regarding the halide family. This is where a silent battle for territory happens inside you, often without you ever knowing. Think of your thyroid as having a limited number of parking spots reserved strictly for iodine. Iodine is the VIP guest. It is the fuel the thyroid needs to run the factory. However, on the periodic table of elements, iodine has some cousins that look very similar to it: fluoride, chlorine, and bromine. These are the halides. They are often found in our tap water, chlorine, our toothpaste, fluoride, and even in some baked goods, bromine. Because they look so similar to iodine, they are like bully cars that rush into the parking lot and steal the spots reserved for iodine. They park there, but they don't do the job. They just block the space. Once they occupy those receptors, the iodine has nowhere to go. It circles the block and eventually gets flushed away. The engine cannot start because the spark plugs are blocked by the wrong element. A simple solution? It doesn't have to be expensive. Using a basic carbon water filter for your drinking water can remove the chlorine. Choosing a fluoride-free toothpaste is an easy swap. It's just about clearing the parking lot so the right fuel can get in. It's about making space for what truly nourishes you. And before we get to the solution, I must mention one more thing: stress. I know it's easier said than done to reduce stress, but think of stress as a drafty window in your house. When you're constantly stressed, your body produces cortisol. Cortisol is like a demanding neighbor who comes over and borrows all your resources. It suppresses the thyroid because the body thinks we're in danger. We need to survive, not thrive. Turn down the metabolism to save energy. Slowing down, taking 5 minutes to breathe is not lazy, it's medicinal. So, we've talked about what to be mindful of, but let's bring this all together into a golden protocol. How do we eat for flow? How do we invite the warmth back into the house? It's not about a strict diet sheet that makes you miserable. It's about gentle, loving adjustments. First, we cook our cruciferous vegetables. We steam that broccoli. We roast that cauliflower with turmeric. We make them safe and delicious. Second, if we eat soy, we choose the ancient fermented kinds like miso or tempeh. Third, we listen to our gut. If we feel bloated or foggy, we give bread a little holiday and see how we feel. We drink filtered water to help clear out the bullies.
We treat our body like the temple it is. But I have saved the best for last, the superfuel. If there is one thing you take away from our chat today, let it be this. There is a hero in this story, a small, unassuming hero, and it is the Brazil nut. Now, why the Brazil nut? This humble nut is the richest source of selenium on the planet. Why does that matter? Well, let's go back to our factory analogy. If iodine is the raw material, the timber for the fire, then selenium is the match. It is the spark plug. Your thyroid produces a hormone called T4, which is inactive. It's like a log waiting to be burned. It needs to be converted into T3, the active hormone that actually gives you energy and warmth. This conversion, this magic moment where potential energy becomes real energy, cannot happen without selenium. It is the catalyst. And the soil in many parts of the world today is quite low in selenium, so our vegetables don't have enough of it. We are often selenium starved without knowing it. Here is the wonderful news, and this is why I love natural solutions. You don't need a handful. You don't need a whole bag. You don't need to spend a fortune on supplements. You only need 2. Just 2 Brazil nuts a day provide all the selenium your thyroid needs to activate that energy. It is nature's perfect dose. I like to have my 2 a day with my breakfast. It's a little ritual I have. I eat them mindfully. I think of it as turning the key in the ignition of my engine for the day. It is crunchy, creamy, and so incredibly good for you. It feels like a secret weapon. Just 2 nuts to help turn the lights back on in the house. Isn't that wonderful? It is so simple, yet so powerful. Of course, I must pause here for a gentle reminder. What we are describing here is nutritional wisdom, a lifestyle approach to supporting your body. It does not replace the treatment given by your doctor. If you are on medication, these foods support that medication, helping your body work better. We are building a foundation of health upon which medicine can stand. Always keep your doctor in the loop, especially as you might find you feel so much better that they need to adjust things. So, my friend, look at where we are. We haven't created a list of forbidden foods. We haven't made life difficult. We have simply learned the language of our body. You see, it isn't about fear. It isn't about feeling guilty for eating a sandwich or a salad in the past. We did the best we knew how, but now we know better. It is about understanding that your body is a garden that is always, always trying to grow towards the light. Your thyroid is resilient. It is not broken. It is just waiting. It needs a little bit of clear space to dance. It wants to keep you warm. It wants to give you the energy to play with your grandchildren, to walk in the park, to enjoy your life. By making these small shifts, steaming the greens, filtering the water, eating your 2 Brazil nuts, reducing the sugar, you are sending a powerful message of safety to your body. You are saying, I am here, I am listening, and I am taking care of you. And believe me, your body will respond. It may take a little time, just as a garden takes time to bloom after a long, cold winter, but the warmth will return, the fog will lift, the fire will roar again. If you found this chat helpful, if it made you feel a little less alone in your journey and gave you some hope, please do share it with a friend who might be feeling a bit tired or chilly lately. We often suffer in silence, thinking it is just our lot, but it doesn't have to be. Let's look after each other. Now, before you go, there is another group of foods that are often marketed as superfoods, but can be quite tricky for our thyroid health, and I want to make sure you don't fall into that trap. I've put together a chat about that right here. Check out our other great video about 6 superfoods that are actually toxic for your thyroid. It might just be the missing piece of the puzzle you have been looking for. Take care of your beautiful garden, be kind to yourself, and remember that small steps lead to great distances. I'll see you very soon. Goodbye for now.